Have you ever stopped to think about how deep our earliest habits run? You know, those things we learned as toddlers that are just completely automatic now? Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating case study in how you can reverse a learned behavior. We're talking about unlearning one of the very first, most fundamental skills we ever get. We're going to look at a guide that details exactly how it's done.
So, what exactly is Unpotty training? Well, the source material we're looking at defines it as a very deliberate process. It's a combination of mental and physical conditioning, and the specific goal is to completely reverse the effects of potty training, ultimately leading to a state of incontinence. Basically, it's about consciously taking apart a skill that has become totally unconscious and automatic.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the core of the whole challenge. I mean, think about it. Our bodies have spent decades, a whole lifetime for most of us, playing by a very strict set of rules. So overcoming that, well, it's not simple. It takes a huge amount of effort to really rewire years and years of both physical and psychological conditioning.
So where do you even begin with a process like this? According to the guide we're looking at, the absolute first step is making a total, unwavering commitment. And that's not just a psychological thing, it's also very, very practical.
And the foundation of that commitment is a single, non-negotiable rule: wearing diapers 24/7. The guide really hammers this home. There can be zero exceptions. This constant physical reminder is framed as the most essential first step to start breaking down those old habits and convincing your body that the rules have changed for good.
But this whole commitment thing, it goes way beyond just a physical act. The source actually describes the mental side of it as being just as critical, maybe even more so. It's all about rewiring the brain.
Now, what's so interesting here is how it lays out the complete reversal of goals. We all know potty training, right? It's all about strengthening that bladder muscle and reinforcing your conscious control over it. Well, unpotty training is the exact opposite. The whole objective is to intentionally weaken that muscle's conditioning and actively, consciously relax your control.
This brings us to the core mental instruction, and it's even in all caps in the source material. Never hold it. The logic is pretty simple. Every time you hold it, even for a second, you're reinforcing the very muscle control you're trying to undo. So by immediately relaxing at the very first urge, you start to retrain your body to not wait for permission anymore.
And this is the long-term goal, the whole endgame. The process starts with very conscious actions. You're actively telling yourself to relax and let go. But the aim is to do this so consistently that your subconscious mind, the part that runs all our automatic behaviors, starts to accept this as the new normal. And eventually, that can lead to a state where the action happens completely unconsciously.
Okay, so we've covered the total commitment and the mental reprogramming. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the specific physical actions and routines that the guide recommends to really make this change happen. During the day, the physical regimen is actually pretty straightforward. It's all about creating opportunities. First, you have to stay really hydrated with lots of water and juice. That keeps the bladder full, which gives you more chance to practice step 2. And step 2, as we just talked about, is the absolute key. Release that pressure immediately, constantly training those bladder muscles to relax instead of tighten up.
So that's how it works during the day, when you're awake and can consciously practice this stuff. But that leads to the really obvious and much, much tougher question. What about at night? How do you train a body that's unconscious?
And the source is super candid about this. It states, again in all caps, that mastering nighttime wetting will take forever. It's definitely framed as the ultimate challenge of this whole process. It's going to require a huge amount of patience and persistence over what could be a very, very long time.
The technique for nighttime training is this interesting mix of routine and a kind of mental trick. So it starts with pre-bed hydration, just to make sure the need will come up while you're sleeping. Then, if you do wake up, the instruction is to pretend you're still asleep as you wet, really trying to visualize the act happening unconsciously. And that last step is crucial. Right after, you just relax and go back to sleep. That helps reinforce the connection in your brain between sleeping and wetting.
So beyond the training itself, there are of course some pretty big day-to-day practicalities you have to manage. Our second source document actually gives a bunch of tips for handling the everyday realities of this process. Here we see some of the main challenges and the solutions they recommend. For odor, the suggestions are pretty varied, everything from practical things like plastic pants and fabric sprays to more internal solutions like peppermint oil capsules. And then for preventing diaper rash, the advice is a bit more what you'd expect. focusing on standard stuff like barrier creams, powders, and oils. And of course, managing hygiene is a huge component of all this. The guide provides a very specific, detailed cleanup routine that's designed to be super efficient and effective at handling both the physical mess and any odors on the skin.
So here's the 4-step process they lay out. First, containment. You remove the diaper while in the shower to keep any mess confined. Second is a really thorough rinse with a handheld shower head until the water's running clear. Step 3 is all about deodorizing, specifically recommending shower gels with citrus oils to neutralize odors on the skin. And finally, step 4 is just to moisturize or use a body spray.
When you step back and look at the whole thing, this entire process is really framed as a significant journey, one that basically moves backward through one of our earliest developmental milestones.
This final quote from the guide really sums up the entire philosophy. It's a constant reminder that this isn't some quick fix. It's a long-term process of unlearning something fundamental. The source keeps emphasizing patience, drawing that direct parallel to how much time and effort it took to get potty trained in the first place all those years ago.
And this leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? I mean, the subject matter here is very specific, but the core idea is universal. A fundamental, lifelong, completely automatic behavior can be consciously reversed. So what does that tell us about ourselves? If we have the power to unlearn something that's so deeply ingrained, what does that really say about the potential we have to reshape our own minds?